Hello and welcome to the N1GPodcast. Today I am your host, Celeste Cross, joined here today by none other than 2 times BloodMoon winner Honornite and 3 times BloodMoon winner Symes. Guys, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining me.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely good to be here.
Alright, and you guys are just awesome players first and foremost, and I want the people around us to get to know you just a little bit better. How about we start off simple with, who are you guys and how long have you been here?
Symes, you want to go ahead and take that?
Yeah, sure. So, hello, I'm Symes, and yeah, I've joined the N1GP quite a while ago, back in about mid-October 2016.
Oof, that's a long time, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been playing PvP in that time? You been playing PvP that whole time, or did you kind of lurk for a little bit?
I might have lurked for a little bit, but I started trying out net battling pretty soon after I joined.
All right. What about you, Honornite?
Alright, well, technically, I joined in 2017, but I actually ended up not doing anything, not even lurking, because I think I was busy with other stuff. So my first official real time for joining is in 2018, and that's also when I started playing. And yeah, I've been playing ever since.
Yeah, you know what? For as courtesy's sake, I gotta answer the same question. Because people might not know me very much either. Of course, I'm a commentator alongside Symes. Every Sunday we do commentary for the big NewMoon and BloodMoon tournaments every Sunday, which is actually awesome that we even have that going right now. I really do appreciate it a lot, first and foremost. But it's great to be a part of that community every Sunday. And I think I've been around here for about, I want to say 7 or 8 years now. I've been here for quite some time. Even before I started in college, which was about 2017, I want to say. Dang, that's a long time. How did you guys find the N1GP? But for me, I found the N1GP through a comment on YouTube, which was by some rando named The Poner. He's still in the server. He's not super active, but he's the one that responded to a YouTube comment I made, just being like, hey man, I wish Battle Network was still played competitively. I would be so all in. And then he was like, yeah, no, it exists. It's called the N1GP. And ever since that day, I've been locked in. But what about you guys?
Well, back in the day, I used to browse Reddit a lot before they nuked all their mobile competition app. That's a whole other story, but I ended up just randomly thinking one day, like, I really liked MegaMan back when I was a kid. I'm gonna go check out the Reddit, and then in the sidebar there was the link to the N1GP community, and I was like, well, I'll go ahead and join that.
Sure, why
I was
not?
competitive games at the time, and here I am. I guess I got addicted.
That's really funny. So you came from Reddit. I came from YouTube. Symes, where did you come from?
I don't remember it too well, but I also kind of came from the Reddit,
Okay.
but it was actually because of the base BS mod for BN3.
Wow. So base brought you here.
I guess kind of, yeah.
So base is like your favorite net navy, right? Like, period. Like, that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
My man. You see, that's what I'm talking about. This is called ambush journalism, by the way. All right. Just to have a quick fun segment, I kind of want to have one of these in each podcast. And today's question of the day is going to be, what is your favorite battle chip? I'm so heavily biased towards base that it's too obvious as an answer. So I'm going to go out and say Yo-Yo 3 from Battle Network 3. And actually, the Yo-Yo series in general are my favorite battle chips of all time. I really loved it in 3 because, when you had the Yo-Yo, it had the collision from that spinning blade part. and it allowed you to like just block some attacks, do a solid amount of damage. It broke obstacles. It was like a really cool chip. It got kind of nerfed in Battle Network 6, so you don't see it as often, but it's just one of my favorite chips of all time. What about you, Symes?
Yeah, this is a tough one. There's a lot of different chips that
So
I
many.
like using.
So many.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. But one of the ones that's up there for me definitely is actually Guardian. It's yeah, pretty hard to use in PvP, but for the single player it's pretty OP. You
Okay.
can just
Okay.
place it down and you know the viruses will just hit it. It's
Sure.
pretty OP for getting triple deletes and stuff and getting those S ranks. And then also when I was playing BN5 PvP, I made the AI just spam guardians, because then it also randomly busters, so it shoots them, and my opponent takes free 200 damage over and over again. It's a very toxic strategy.
Toxic but effective. We take those 100%. Yeah, you won the tournament with that recently in, I think, what's the name of that Discord? I always forget the name.
Oh, Net Savers.
Net Savers. Yes, shout out to Net Savers, by the way. Excellent community over there. But yeah, you won one of their tournaments playing that strategy, actually, right?
I think in that one I only got second.
Oh, you got second. Who came out on top?
Pacheco.
Pacheco. Yeah, Pacheco's actually played in a few of our tournaments as well. Does just a great player overall. Would love to see them play a little bit more, obviously, because Boundary 6 is based, but the other ones are just as based too. But yeah, that's actually really cool. Alright, Honornite, what about you? Favorite battle chip, dude?
If I have to think about what my favorite battle chip is throughout the entire series, that's tough.
It is tough.
Most of my experience is in BN6 PvP.
Wow.
I've played through 1 through 5 through the story, but I think considering everything, it's still probably Air Raid 3 because it shoots the most.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just so funny seeing the little fighters just slowly move up and then just gun down the opponent.
It's really good.
And it's such a niche strategy that, like, I don't know, it catches people off guard, and it's just fun, you know?
It
And
is a lot.
That's what you want the most out of a battle chip. My second favorite battle chip is Barrier 200. No comments.
You know what? That's a testament to your playstyle, because you are like one of the most defensively oriented. I feel like everyone's defensively oriented, but your defensive gameplay is so different. I feel like you very focused whenever you play. So I definitely see that being one of your favorite battle chips. That's hilarious.
It's out the win racks, locks the erase mens. You know, it's great.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. Honestly, speaking of air raid as well, I've actually been playing an air raid build in Encode recently, and shoutouts to Player Zero, because I started playing Encode because of him. I feel like a lot of people did that. But I started playing, well, I shouldn't say that, right? Because there's obviously really powerful chips on Encode. That's Meteor Knuckles, that's your Neo Variable. Yes, but I've been playing a more centered Encode style. So, like, playing other chips from it, like the Gundel Cell 3, and, of course, the Air Raid as well, which is why I brought it up, because Air Raid in that build is actually kind of spicy. It's a really solid chip, and especially when you have the attack pluses and the double points on there, it gets kind of scary. Yeah, for sure.
I did that failed first. Oh, sorry. Let me drink some water there.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Take your credit. Hold on.
I don't know what happened there. Something was in my throat, and I just had to let it out.
All right. Well, this week in the N1GP, we have a tournament going on. Of course, it's the NewMoon. Can y'all remind me what cycle it was?
This is cycle 3.
Cycle 3, because we are now in 2024, of course, so we've had a couple of cycles so far, but this is the third cycle of 2024. So, this week, we have both of you entered the tournament. Unfortunately, I was unable to enter the tournament, but I'm really interested in hearing what you guys brought to the table this week. And we'll start with Symes. What did you bring to the table this week for the New Moon?
Yeah, so I'm basically just using a J code.
Okay.
So I haven't used it in quite a while.
Okay. So what made you choose like J code? Like what was that about? Like
I mean it's a fun code and it is actually kind of pretty different from the type of builds I usually play, so I figured it would be good variety to change things up and go for this kind of J code build.
so when you say builds you usually play, are you talking about like a chunky Gregar? What version are you playing this in?
Yeah, I'm using the J code and Falzar with
Okay.
Hub.
Ah.
It's very, very different from the like a chunk Gregar folder.
Okay. It's always really good when you have an on code Giga and J code just having so many excellent bombs in the form of Recover 300s, Judgment SP, of course, Hub Batch. There's just so much in that folder. Is there any interesting text that you're playing that's a little unorthodox that you probably don't think people are playing very often in J?
Not really. I mean, I got the Destroy Pulse, I got Justice 1, and yeah, obviously the Judgment SP and Recovs, and that's actually pretty much it.
I think it's really interesting because I feel like Justice 1 has been proving its mettle quite a bit as of recently, and I know I talk about it on the stream a few times, and it's just that when Judgment 1, comes into play, right, it doesn't destroy, it cracks all those panels on your opponent's side of the field. So a Falzar player, obviously, they don't usually run air shoes natively, they have to go to a resource to avoid that, which is punishable, which is very important. But a Gregar player without shoes, which is kind of the meta right now, which is really chonky setups and just no shoes and no float shoes, no air shoes, it really kind of makes them struggle with their movement because now all these broken panels are happening every time they shift around, so they get caught up really easily. I wonder who started that. I wonder who it was that started playing Chonk and made people realize that Gregar Chonk is pretty good. Do you think you know who that is, Symes? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I have really no idea.
Oh, okay, all right.
Whoever they are, they probably could win like 3 BloodMoons, honestly.
I mean, they gotta be so innovative. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I wish I was that player. That's what I know. I wish I was them. Yeah,
It's interesting you mentioned that though, because I actually had I was talking to Player Zero recently, and something that I brought up was how the meta was shifting more towards cracked panels and hole panels, or hole making chips. Like obviously Getham is one of those, but Magnums and Alec Dragons are seeing a lot more use.
Yep.
And like I think part of that is because the Grenadiers are shifting towards this chunkier, shoeless builds.
Yes.
So it's easy to punish. And same with the Falter builds are so chunky. They're not obviously they don't run shoes as often, but if you get them on a good if you get them on a good cracked setup on slow gauge, you can put out a lot of damage.
A lot of damage.
Yeah, it's just interesting how the meta is shifting towards that cracked and hole panel situation.
Honestly, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Justice 1 is like a side effect of that because it cracks all those panels.
Mm-hmm. It very much is, which is what make it really strong. Do you actually play Geddon in your build, Symes?
Yeah, that was actually the last minute change I made. I had 4 Winderax.
Okay.
But I cut down to 3 Winderax to add a Geddon.
Okay, I like that. So you see, just right there, you can already tell like how this meta is developing already. And you see, Battle Network 6 is a really old game, right? it's not like we're getting any updates anytime soon or anything like that. So, that in mind, these formats kind of go in cycles, right? As we're playing, people will start to favor bulk. But maybe the prevalence of these cracked panels will spawn forward a different kind of play. People are already experimenting with air shoes again. They want that because the holes are just causing them so much stress. And it is very stressful as a Gregar player to play under a field like that, right? Obviously, there are outs to this, right? Even without shoes, you can use your beast charges, your charge shots to deny the row you're in. You just need to be better prepared for it mentally, right? I feel like that's one thing that people don't tend to respect when they're playing against these shoes builds, or excuse me, these breaking panel builds, because they don't think ahead to that kind of turn or that kind of end game. Like, I am eventually going to be trapped. So I need to position myself for that turn by maybe going to erase cross a turn earlier, or even going into a let cross a turn earlier, so that way I can deny my opponent from stepping into my row for free. As long as you're trading damage, you're not losing that bad, right? I mean, there are situations where you'll get trapped in the corner, and then maybe they can use like Gundel Soul in the middle row with Beast Jump, and you can't really interact with that. So I do understand that aspect, but you still need something to plan ahead, which is why we've been seeing a lot of panel return coming into the format too, in the form of Sanctuary coming into format as well. These panel changing strategies are coming into play because people are trying to play around this cracked panel situation. So it's always really interesting seeing how people adapt to that. Now, Honornite, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Oh, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just looking at Symes Bill, and I was actually really curious about the slow gauge tech.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Because you know, generally you see pulse builds run either fast gauge or normal gauge.
Yeah.
But the slow gauge, I guess, is that to complement your hub batch choice for sort of pressure in like mid late?
Yeah, and it's also because I don't have room for invis, which not having invis and fast gauge seems pretty sketchy to me.
I see now. Yeah, that's a mistake I often make. This is for everyone out there who's starting out. When you're looking at people's builds, make sure you double check that their staples are there. You know, because sometimes they'll be missing staples, and you're thinking to yourself, how are they fitting in this much damage? And it turns out they're fitting in this much damage because they've custom defense, and that catches me slipping so often because I just think that, you know, the life aura is there sometimes. The invises are there, you know, but sometimes they're just not.
No, you did not just do that.
I did.
I mean, the same thing happens to me, honestly, when I see people's Navi cuss. It's like, oh man, that's a really good Gregor cuss. They got these buster stats, they got juice, they got this high cost, decent HP. Like, how are they fitting all this? Oh wait, oh, they don't have super armor.
Shoutouts to Thiago, right?
Yo, that happens to. There's this one day someone was talking in BN6 review, and they posted a cuss for Gregar, and I was like, yo, hold on. This looks so good. I was like, how did they do that? And there's no attack max. And I'm just like, oh.
That's fine. These 4 buster ups.
So
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
So true. That's actually interesting that you bring that up. So we're going to get to you in a second, Honornite. But on stream last week, and during the Freaky Friday stream, if people were able to catch that, definitely do. It's a great stream. But Salad brought up an interesting tech, and it was running 5 buster ups. I feel like it could be really viable. Even if you run 4, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5, right? So you can reg 1, tag 2, and you'll see them relatively quickly because you start off with attack 1 anyway, right? Does buster attack go to 6 in standard play?
And the P shots will, but the charge shots won't. So you can probably get by with just 4.
Right. So I'm thinking you tech in 4 of those, you get buster bug strats going. It's pretty good. If you're running attack max and then you play the extra buster ups, that's even better because you can hit attack 10 with that. So now your P shots are doing 100. It sounds really good. I don't know how it would play out in our environment, but you're banking on the fluidity of them being star coded and the fact that when you see them, it's kind of like an upstart goblin in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You can play this, get rid of it, get some value, get a new chip in the next turn, and move through your folder, which is something Gregor really likes to do in the first place. But at the same time, I feel like, of course, dust is so prevalent in that kind of strategy because you can sift through the folder and find those pieces quicker, right? So maybe it's better in a Falzar-oriented build, but I still think it might be stronger in Gregor. I don't know.
I remember that discussion and thinking about it, and I'm glad you brought up the Upstart Goblin thing. I don't remember exactly what Upstart Goblin does, but I'm just going to assume it's like Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed, except it's a neutral.
I'll let you know. Upstart Goblin is a spell card that says when you play this, draw a card, your opponent gains 1,000 life points.
Okay, yeah, so it's +0 can size, but it's obviously -1 deck size. But the thing about that with Yu-Gi-Oh versus I guess any card game in general versus Battle Network is in those card games you want your deck to get thin so you can get to the cards that you want the core to your deck.
Sure.
But in Battle Network, every single chip
counts.
of those 30 is so important.
So important.
That like if you're putting in 4 buster ups, that could be 4 damage chips each, 140 each. That's gonna be what's that, 400, and then 1600. So that's 560 damage that you're missing out on. Obviously, you have to hit that, but you have to make that up from those buster ups.
You really do. So basically, you're riding out on these buster gems. Maybe you're even playing slow gauge, and if you're playing slow gauge, that means that might mean I'm in turns that I only have 50 attack. So it could be bad, right? So you're in a situation where you want to play slow gauges, but you want to send them to the back of your folder with like a dust turn, and then draw into your buster ups early, and then maybe late game slow gauge pushes. That's kind of how I play it in EXE6, because when I play base BX mod card, you have to play those buster ups to achieve attack 10. If you don't, then you're not getting that damage worth, right? So I feel like it's really interesting to bring up because in EXE6 you kind of get away with it because the mod cards give you so much value. But in Standard, are you getting a lot of that value like you are in the EXE patch card format? So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, something to like test it out for a NewMoon. If you guys are watching this at home, maybe bring it to a NewMoon, see what you get from the results from that. All right. That being said, I do want to go into what you're playing this week, Honornite. So let us hear what you got.
All right, I got something spicy for you.
Oh.
So this is a updated version of one of my older builds. It's my Rock Cube build with Cross Divide. Where the goal of the build is to use Dust Cross's Dust Suck to
sure.
Rock Cube.
Okay.
Roll lock them with a Magnum and then just shoot Rock Cubes in their face. And this variation, I cut out some chips so I can fit in a full cust and a timpani, actually, as a sort of like a backup way to walk enemies down.
That is timpani, you said?
Yeah, timpani.
You're playing some bonkers stuff. What?
Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure building because it just creates a lot of unique scenarios where you just put out a rock cube and your opponent's like, well, now what do I do? Sometimes, because I recall a match that I played. I don't think this is going to get on stream, so I'll talk about it. Where I had Life Aura up, and I had rock cubes.
Okay.
And my mind just before I hit OK, my mind was cranking. I'm like, they're going to win wreck. So immediately, as soon as the turn starts, I just mash out the rock cube, and I see the wind wreck animation going on, and the rock cube blocked the wind gust. and you can do lots of really funny things with objects like that that aren't. Uh, I think they're called Type 2 objects, the ones that you can shoot through. Because I think Rock Cube is a Type 1 object. So I don't know. It's just super fun, super unique, and the cust actually is what I'm most proud of for this build because I think it's definitely a cust that's been found before, but it's a 1800. Oh, sorry, I should. Well, obviously, it's false. Sorry. It's an 1800 bugless build with Cust 2, First Barrier Rush, Charge Max, and Attack 1. And I really like that it has that Attack 1 in there because even though it's not much, uh, having that little extra attack does make it so that the neutral feels a little bit better. And yeah, no, it's just a fun guilty pleasure build that I decided to bring because for people who are first time watchers to the N1GP,
that's gonna be spicy.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say for first time watchers to the N1GP, generally the cycle before BloodMoon is when people bring out their more serious builds because they want to kind of test them a bit before the BloodMoon. But I already know what I'm going into with BloodMoon, so I decided to play something a bit memey.
You know, I'm gonna roll it back real quick. If you ever, bro, pull out a rock cube when I'm trying to wind rack, I'm flying over there, bro. I'm just letting you know right now. I'm just full disclosure, bro. I am on my way, bro. Because it's just I can't let you do that to me and walk away unscathed, bro. That is crazy.
Yeah, I did have to make some sacrifices for this build though. So I have 4 rock cubes in the build, and the 4 chips that I had to replace for that were my area grabs. So I am running 2 banishes, and the B bros. So it's been interesting, not being able to play with an area advantage. I do feel the loss of area a lot, especially when I want to go with Tomahawk Cross for any sort of crowd control negation. I just feel my neutral just hit 0 because my opponent's just going to camp back row. But at least the Magnums and Electrags at least help keep them out of that back row because of the crack panels that they make.
Have you ever considered something like maybe bamboo lance to pull them out of that back row? Is that something relevant to your build?
It's an interesting idea, but
you don't get anything out of that pull.
Yeah, I don't get anything out of the follow up. I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's gonna lead into our next discussion because I'm interested in some deck techs. Now, what I mean by deck techs is something that is not commonly seen, but you're pulling out to help you maybe advance a strategy or use for a specific goal, or maybe some applications that people aren't thinking about. Like, for instance, you just talked to us about Rock Cube. How many of those did you have in your folder?
4.
4 Rock Cubes, bro. That's a deck tech. That is hot, bro. Like, people aren't doing that like that. Like,
okay, people who are watching, don't do this. Folder. Maybe 1 rock cube for the memes, but don't go all in until you're used to it. It is rough sometimes.
Let me hear from you, Symes. Let me hear from you. So, what is a deck tech that you feel like people have been really sleeping on recently?
Well, regarding Honornite setup, to go with all the rock cubes and also the cross divide, he should have had a Dustman SP.
Ooh.
Oh, that's hot. Why do you say that?
I mean, because it would work well with the rock cubes and the Timpani, and it would be on code with the cross divide as well.
Yeah, but pretend I don't know what it is, man. Pretend, like, what does it do?
So Dustman is, for anyone who's played the previous games, there's the, Poltergeist chip, which throws all the objects on the field at the opponent. What Dustman does is he fires normally 1 shot down that row, 1 Charlie shot. But then he also sucks in all the objects on the field and fires them down the row too. And Dustman SP actually does 200 damage per shot, so it's strong enough to break life And yeah, it would just be potentially really funny if you could set it up with like 2 rock cubes.
Yes. Honestly, I think that's a really awesome deck tech for that build. I feel like you missed out on that. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah. When he said Dustman, like my neurons started firing. But the timpani, it'll lock them down so that you can line up the Dustman, and then you get the timpani, the damage from the timpani.
Monkey brain activated neuron burst.
Oh my god, I'm making a detailed folder next.
You see, and that's what I kind of want to inspire here with this deck tech portion of this podcast, is that people often fall into this trap of meta, right? And guilty. We've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes bringing a build with a goal in mind for your build is more important than checking off some boxes on a list, right? There could be chips that you're not even thinking about that can make a whole strategy viable for you, right? And granted, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, everything is easy to pull off in the middle of a PvP setting, right? You have to understand what the core value of the game is, or the core value of at least the current meta is, and attack that, right? Like, no one was preparing for a rock hue strategy out of nowhere, right? And now you pull this out, and they're confused. They're like, yo, hold on, what is this man doing? Bro, I'm even thinking about it, right? The turns where you start off with rock hues are broken for you, even more so. Like, that's a lot. That is hot tech. That is really cool. Man, okay, so, like, what is another deck tech? I don't think we got one from you, Honornite. I mean, aside from the rock cube stuff, like that's given. I'm gonna give you that. But what else do you think might be a really good deck tech that people aren't thinking about nowadays?
Alright, so I'm going to cheat a little bit and suggest 2 chips, a chip combo for you Gregor players out there. It's one of my personal favorite combos and techs for Gregor is triple shot into coming road. I'm sure both of you guys here are familiar with this one because I like to talk about it a lot in the N1. Whenever I see someone run triple shot. But basically what you do is you elec charge the triple shot, paralyze the opponent, and use the opportunity to coming road them, and then you get a panel lock. And the panel should last long enough that you get at least 2, maybe 3 charge shots. So you're getting the 100 damage from the triple shot. And then Electros is doing 160 per shot, or per charge shot, so that's at least going to be 3, 4, 20, 480 damage. I'm very good at math, by the way, ex-math major. And part is that when those crack pedals are going away, you can follow it up with an area grab and make it a true pedal lock.
Now, what makes this block work, too, is the triple crack, right? Usually there's 3 holes, but the changing panels from the coming road, it will change that hole into a conveyor belt panel. So they'll be surrounded by the 2 crack panels, and they're just dragged to that front. That is hot, dude. Like, I know China TV actually pulled that strategy in the last Freaky Friday, I believe.
Yeah, and what a coincidence. I wonder whose build they got during that Freaky Friday.
I wonder. Who do you think it was, Honornite? Like, who do you... Oh, you don't know?
No, I'd have to look it up. Funny story about that, actually. So the save for that, the coming road was accidentally placed with a going road initially, so I sent it to China TV, and he didn't question it. So he played a few matches with it being going road, and he told me after I told him that it was wrong, was like, dang, I was thinking, what was Honornite cooking? No, I was cooking something very different.
It was just not that. I was just going.
Yeah, sorry, so I won't mess with the recipe. But another neat thing about that tech is that if you don't get the opportunity to use it up, they're both null chips. So they're both chip charge farther, and you can also use the cracked panels, the broken panels that you make to help wall off opponents. So let's say you're against Soup, who really loves going slash cross and going up in your face without his shoes. That can buy you some crucial time. So it's pretty versatile in terms of being able to being able to chip charge it, but if you can get it off, it can be really disruptive, even as a defensive play, because if you don't want to get in front of them, you can just ignore them while they're trapped.
For sure. I actually really like that a lot. That's so good. I it's such a slept on strategy that people often don't think about, and the flexibility of being able to chip charge them since they're null. I feel like that's the big pull in for that, right? Because now you have a backup strategy in case you don't get what you want, right? And can't you can tag those too? You said, right?
Indeed, you can.
So
it's so beautiful.
It's so good. Versatility is one of the best things you can do in this game. One deck tech I want to bring to the table is something me and Symes been talking about for a little while, you know what I'm saying? And it is that Mag Coil. I feel like some people have dabbled in the applications of using a Mag Coil in combat, but I feel like there's so much missing. For instance, if you use a White Capsule with Mag Coil and 2 Machine Gun 3s, you can do upwards of 800 damage from that little combo, and I feel like the 4 chips is definitely worth 200 a pop, you know what I'm saying? So it's really solid. And you can do so many things. Maybe someone's camping top row trying to deny your Kernel Force, right? Now, you can use Kernel Force, drag him to the center, and now it's fair game. You can use Delta Ray Edge with it. There's just so many applications to having Mag Coil, and I'm just so surprised, people tend to not bring that chip. I guess the problem is you have to weigh the value of that chip, right? You have to really get your full money's worth when you're trying to use a chip in your folder. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can see that. The neat thing about Magcoil is it's just like the triple shot coming road strat, is that Magcoil is dull element, so it is chip chargeable, which does add a bit of versatility to it, especially for builds that do run attack max or high attack, like the Salad Cust. So that's a neat thing about it. So if you do miss the opportunity to use it, at least you have it as a backup, maybe around 200 damage. Speaking of which, null beast charges. Really good.
Really, really good. Something people don't use very often is the null beast chip charge. It can do upwards of 200 damage if you get both hits. It doesn't flash, if I remember correctly.
First hit doesn't flash, second hit does.
First hit doesn't flash. Yeah. So if you get the first and not the second one, you kind of go a little bit net positive with a response after that, which is pretty good. But yeah, it's really quick, kind of hard to dodge if you're not really looking out for it. You can mix it up with some buster shots, get people going into a different pattern. I just think it's really good. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a wrap for tonight. I feel like we got a lot of decent conversations going here, and I'm going to throw it back to you guys on the comment section. What do you guys think are some really interesting deck techs that you can bring to the table that people don't experiment with? Or something that you want to see on stream? And that's going to be our show for today. Thank you for tuning in to the N1G Podcast. I've been your host, Solex Cross, and this has been Honornite and Symes. And we'll see you in the next one.